Hey everyone, how's it going? I hope you're all doing great, as I always say. And in this video, it's going to be on Northern Europe. Now the first story sounds vaguely familiar to me, like I've read it one time, but I don't think I ever did it on the channel. And if I did, then that's my mistake, and I probably did it a long time ago. But with that, I hope you enjoyed the video anyways, so definitely pull up a stump, and let's jump into these stories from Northern Europe. Thank you for watching. So back in 2013, some mates and me decided to go hiking really deep in the woods, somewhere in Northern Europe. I don't want to say exactly where. So we decided to hike to this old abandoned Cold War era military facility. We reached the facility after 2 days of hiking and camping. Although the place is super cool, we spend the whole day exploring and just pissing off birds with our 22s. By nightfall, we set up a camp in one of the empty warehouses. We go outside and we set up a campfire and start making stew. All of a sudden, we hear the loudest and weirdest roar I have ever heard. We all collectively crap our pants, grab our rifles, and stare into the darkness. Something is moving about 100 meters out. We heard it rushing through the woods into the facility area. We stand there silent, just listening. Then it stops, and suddenly, it's dead silent all around us. We can just hear the sound of the stew slowly boiling on the fire. We look at each other and have a brief chat. We decide to carry on with making the stew. So the next morning, we wake up and start packing. Everyone is making jokes about how we got so scared of some bear or some other forest animal. My buddy sees something lurking on top of the biggest facility building. We try to have a look about what it is, but it's too far away, some 200 meters maybe. It's just standing there with 2 legs, probably staring directly at us. The thing is big, huge, maybe over 7 feet tall. I reach for the binoculars to have a good look at who is deciding to troll us with a ghillie suit and probably some stilts or something. Just as I find the binoculars, my mate starts shouting. I look at the creature, or whatever it's supposed to be, and it seems to be running via the facility wall like a lizard, very, very fast. By now it's clear that it's not human, nor any animal that I know of. It disappears behind one big bunker-like structure. We decide to just tip the hell out of there. We're scared, even though it's day. As we're hiking back, we don't take any breaks before nightfall. As the sun sets down, we make a camp and start preparing supper. Everyone's tense, and we try to joke around. We decide to do guard duty during the night. My shift is 100 hours to 300 hours, or 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. The birds are singing like crazy. They do that during the night here, and I managed to see a lone rabbit hopping around our campsite. I would have shot it, but I didn't want to wake anybody up, We're already tense enough as it is. Suddenly, the birds just slowly quiet down into a weird lull. Suddenly the rabbit stops hopping and just raises its head up, and its ears twitch like it's listening to something. The rabbit takes off really fast, like it's running for its life. All of a sudden I feel very uneasy, and I flick on my flashlight and shine it down in the darkness. I was really hoping to see a glimpse of a fox or something similar that could have explained the strange behavior of the other animals, but the forest around us seemed empty. Just as I'm putting the light out, I see something move just behind the bushes around 100 meters away, and it was something big. I shine the light directly at the bushes, and I try to get a look at it through my scope. I managed to see something moving there, and I believe I saw a pair of yellowish eyes, but I couldn't be sure. Then it stands up. I don't know to this day what the hell it was, but it was hairy looking, very dark, and had a face. The face of a lighter color, but there were two yellow eyes, and the thing had to be over 7 feet tall, and it was somewhat human-shaped. Although I didn't get a very clear look with my, not so good flashlight, I was 100% sure that that thing wasn't a human, so I started panicking. I raised my gun, and I lit it up. I emptied the whole 25-round Butler Creek mag in about 3 seconds, and I didn't even aim. My buddies woke up and started shouting, and it was all chaos for half a minute. I tried to tell them what happened as fast as I could. Having dropped my flashlight, I didn't know if the creature had been hit or if it was even there anymore. One of my buddies picked up the light and directed it at the direction I was pointing my gun at, and there it was, just standing there. Suddenly, this thing just kind of falls down and starts slithering at us, making no noise at all. We start screaming, grab our packs and guns, and start just tipping out of there. We must have ran like 10 kilometers straight before taking a break. All of us were shaking. We didn't share a single word. We walked the rest of the way to the public campground in DEFCON 1, essentially, weapons ready and listening to every crack. I've never been as happy as when I saw some German tourists grilling sausages by their RV. They were all like, "Who the hell are you? What the hell's going on?" when we exited the woods with guns in low ready stance. We said nothing to them, walked to our car, and drove away, breaking pretty much every speed limit on the way home. We talked about the thing on the way home. None of us knew what it was, but everyone had seen it, and everyone was convinced that it was not human, nor a normal animal of any sort. We decided to stay away from the woods for a while. The problem is that the wildlife around here is scared of people, even children, and there hasn't been a single bear sighting in over 80 years. So the summer after this, we decided to be tough guys and find out what the hell this thing was. This time, we go with 3 ATVs in case we have to bail out. We took 2 cameras, 3 308s, and 1 1276 with slugs. There were 4 of us, by the way. We had a load of survival gear, and one of my buddies managed to get some Gen 2 NV camera. We also had 7 pipe bombs, black powder, 2-inch iron, tubing caps at the end, and a visco fuse, in case things really got out of hand. Yeah, it was kind of lame, fake-ass military operator tier stuff, but we thought we'd get all famous and stuff if we actually got footage of it or actually managed to kill it. Anyways, we entered the woods with our gear and headed for the facility. Again, at the facility everything looks normal and the birds are singing. There's no sign of really anything abnormal. We decide to map the surrounding area and look for anything suspicious that's there at all. Nothing was found. We make camp at the very same warehouse as we did last time, not finding a single thing that's different. Night falls and everything is still normal. We still have guard shifts during the night, but nothing happens. The next day, we start exploring the woods in the area around the facility. We find a peculiar pile of dead trees. It looked like someone had hauled them there. We take a closer look. The trees are arranged in a fashion similar to like almost a bird's nest. In the middle of this nest looking thing, there's a half-rotten moose carcass and a whole bunch of different animal bones. We decide to quietly start noping back to our campsite. We park our ATVs next to the warehouse that we keep our camp in. We enter the camp warehouse and we see all of our camping gear torn up. The somewhat expensive cameras that we had are just smashed against the floor. Our food has been taken, and the sleeping bags all torn to pieces. And we think, oh shit. We take everything we could in like a minute, and we just start driving the hell out of Dodge. Our fantasies about shooting this thing are just gone now. It's evening by the time we get back to the public campground. A police officer stops us by the gates and checks our gun permits. The officer proceeds by asking whether we wanted to volunteer for a search operation. Our ATVs will be much appreciated. Some hiker had apparently gone missing in the nearby forest, 20 kilometers from the facility site. We look at each other and we shake our heads. One of my buddies quickly says something about it being late, and we drive out of there saying that we might come back tomorrow. The dude who went missing was never found. We decided that we wouldn't go, that deep in the woods in that part of the country at all anymore. And then attached here is a missing persons report. Missing Thai berry picker found dead in Lapland. Cause of death appears uncertain. There's no crime suspected. A 38-year-old Thai man who was in Finland to earn money picking berries was found dead in the forest in Sala in the east of Lapland on Thursday after being missing for 2.5 weeks. No crime appeared to be involved with the death. Police investigator Ali Mertola said that the deceased had appeared to have been dead for a longer period of time. The cause of death remains unknown, pending a forensic autopsy. There are no cliffs or other high places near the place where the body was found, which would seem to rule out a fall as the cause of death. The body showed signs of external damage, which was probably caused by animals and may have been inflicted post-mortem. Police resumed the search for the man on Wednesday after a woolen cap was found in the yard of a house. We assumed that the cap belonged to the missing man. We also assumed that a dog had brought the cap from the forest to the yard, Mertola said. The body was found by soldiers, a short distance from the road between Sala and Kemijärvi. It was located 3 kilometers from where he had gone missing. The terrain has plenty of brush. Only one had to look very carefully to see the body, Mertola said. The man disappeared on the 26th of July after picking berries for 3 days. He was last seen at 9 p.m. on the side of the road waiting for a ride to his lodgings near the village of Kursu. He was in telephone contact with the picker's liaison before 9:30, after which his mobile telephone went silent. We're still trying to clarify the course of events and make a more precise timeline. We are also interested in finding out what route the man took, Mertola says, and I will put the screenshot of the report up here. This happened to me and my friend this summer gone by, which was 2017. So I live on the border of Norway and Sweden. My friend and I were Boy Scouts when we were kids, and now we're in our 20s. One night, when we're drunk, we discuss our adventures in the northern forests as young boys. Both of us have some weird desire to return to the pine trees. We decide that we're going to sleep in a windbreak cabin far into the woods next weekend. We got our old Boy Scout stuff packed up. My friend's father drops us off by the roadside in a small village. The small village was literally on the border, with lots of stories about the place. Some of the stories from there include Norwegians fleeing to Sweden during World War II, lots of women and children getting lost and dying alone in the nearby forest. Also, there was some sort of cult called the Family there. Anyways, my friend's father points to a tree with old remnants of red paint on the birch. Just follow the trees with the old paint for a couple of kilometers and you'll find the windbreak cabin. We crack open a beer in each and start walking. 2 hours later, we're now on top of some sort of mountain. We realize we haven't heard a single animal since we started walking. No birds or anything, really. We find a small patch of mud, and there's a big wolf print in it, clear paw prints in the mud. It's getting dark by this point. We should have started the hike sooner, but, this wasn't exactly planned. 2 hours later, we're finally at the windbreak cabin. It's recently renovated, and we think, oh, nice. It's completely black and silent. We chop some firewood, barbecue some meat that we brought with us, and we're exhausted from the hike and tired because of how full we are, so we pretty much pass out immediately. I wake up the next day. I'm feeling good, but my back is sore from sleeping on the cabin floor. My friend is still fast asleep. There's a thick fog over the lake of the front of the cabin. Everything is completely silent. I remember my dad telling me that if the forest is silent, there's a predator nearby, and I think, that's weird. I look over at my friend. My axe is firmly lodged in the side of the cabin, on my friend's side, kind of above his head. I think nothing of this. I think he probably put it there before we slept. So I start making some breakfast soup. My friend eventually wakes up, and I hear him freaking out. He's pointing at the axe and wondering how it got there. He tells me that he put the axe into a living tree next to the cabin after he was done the night before. I guess something in the forest didn't want us hurting the trees. So this happened during my first time in Iceland. I was into my 3rd week hiking the highland desert called Sprenginsonder, 2 days away from the nearest hut. It was the most psychedelic landscape I'd ever been to. Gray rubble desert, snow, wind, no shelter. Every now and then a little oasis with a spring. I was following the old horse route that was the route that the Viking settlers used. It was windy as all hell, and I spotted an oasis in the distance. It's the only green thing there is. I walked to the oasis. I could use some fresh water and a tea break. And I arrive, and it's beautiful. It's this small artesian spring that feeds up into a sand pool. A small creek runs from it and disappears again after around 50 meters. Everything is green and full of pretty flowers. It feels like a magical place. I drop my pack and grab my Kukska bottle and go to the spring. I fill the bottle and drink a cup of tea. It tastes great. There's this stone that's shaped like a throne, perfect to sit on. So I make tea, and I'm sheltered from the wind for a while. The moment I place my butt on the throne, the show starts. Acoustic hallucinations. I hear strange voices from really close, but I can't see anything. I see movement, but only from my peripheral view. There's lots of stuff going on. I'm pretty freaked out right now. Not sure if I have food poisoning or something, like an LSD flashback from the college days or something else. So I pack up and just walk away. I remember saying something like, "Sorry guys, I didn't mean to. I just needed the water and the sit-down break. I'll be going now." I freaked out some more because I normally don't talk aloud to myself. I walk some 40 kilometers more through the desert, beautiful and strange, but totally uneventful. I arrive at some Icelandic mountain hut. It's a beautiful place, far off in the highlands, away from most tourists. There's a hot spring and a natural rock pool, and I think finally I can wash up after all those days. Some of the tourists are there. Most of them have off-road vehicles. I take a lone spot on the huge camping thing. I'm a solo hiker, so the last warden already radioed me in. The matron at the office expects me. She's pretty friendly. She likes hikers much better than car campers, and she gives me a beer, which is a big thing in Iceland. And she sends me to the pool. It's 40-degree water, 0-degree air, cold beer, and that view. The matron invites me to dinner, fresh veggies and fish after a week of dehydrated food. I'm okay with this. It turns out that she is a farmer. She's a hut warden and certified expert for the Huldufolk, the Icelandic magic fairies and trolls and stuff. We talk about my route. Few take the old horse path on foot. I show her on the map. She points to a spot on the route and asks if I was there. I say, yeah, that's the little oasis. I tell her the story of the spring in the stone and me freaking out. She freaks out. She freezes and stares at me, really creepy now. I tell her that I apologized and left. She asks about pretty much every detail of the event for the next 10 minutes. Apparently, I stumbled right into the capital of one of the different Huldufolk ethnics, had a sip from their sacred well, and took a break on their high seat. She was really surprised that I made it out of the desert without an accident of some sort. She says that I am a strange walker, and that even the trolls gave me a pass this one time. It must be my good karma and the fool's luck. So, what did you think of those stories? Let me know which one was your favorite one down in the comments. Now, I don't think that I did the first one before, but if I did, it was a long time ago and I've forgotten about it. Either way, I hope you enjoyed the video still, even if you heard the story. And yeah, if you have your own story, then I have an email address in the description below that you can send in your story, and it will end up in a video eventually. And if you want to donate to the channel, I have a Patreon and a PayPal, which also have links in the description below. So with that, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for pulling up a stump, and thank you for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.